So this afternoon on our business spotlight, we've got Janice Scheckter. Janice is from Indigo Africa, and she's the CEO there and hardworking and as ever. Janice, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Great to be here. Thanks, Bert.
So, Janice, the first question I'd like to ask you is the business that you've got. Why have you started it?
I've actually been an entrepreneur for, on the 1st of Feb will be 32 years. And for the first 21 years, I had a B2B brand agency called Indigo Marketing. And we did really well. We had Cisco as a client for 14 years. I launched Levi's in this country. I was actually involved in the ANC manifesto launch in 94. So some pretty landmark stuff.
Yes.
But around year 18, I felt that something was lacking. I felt it was great working with global brands. But at the same time, I really wanted to feel like I was making a difference. And
Yes.
while every country needs entrepreneurs who are keen to work in the social entrepreneurial space,
Yeah.
South Africa needs it more than many.
Okay. Do you want to explain to our listeners just the three things that you guys are focused on, or three businesses?
Yes, so but we leverage platform technologies. So for any of the listeners who are not aware, the simplest form of that is Uber. So where there's a profile of a rider and a profile of a driver, and the algorithm matches them. And essentially our technology is that. It's platform technology made up of profiles, but we leverage that profile to impact education in Africa. So we have a platform called A Better Africa, which is really about building connected communities in education, whether they're at a school or teacher level or at a ministry level. More recently launched is Kasi Connect Online, and that really addresses building connected ecosystems for Kasipreneurs. And finally, we're in health, and we're really we're looking at democratizing health data for people, because people in Africa are often quite mobile. They don't own their health data, and often they don't know what their health data even contains. So it's really about, as I say, democratizing access to one's data.
Mm.
And also, and we believe this will lead to improved healthcare. Not enough time to go into it, but
Yeah.
there's a rationale behind it, obviously.
Excellent. Yeah, my daughter is a medical doctor also in community health in Cape Town. So just for information.
Ah, okay.
So in uniqueness of a product and service, the platform obviously is very unique and connecting those people. What else do you think makes you guys unique?
I think the ability, or rather the intent to drive change. If we look at the history of platforms and the platform revolution that's been written about, the platform revolution really talked to how businesses entered the market on platforms and really disrupted the markets they were in. So Uber disrupted the taxi industry, and Airbnb disrupted the rental or hotel or booking
Yes.
industry, etc. And Facebook disrupted, as did X, or X Twitter,
Yeah.
disrupted media to some extent. But none of them created disruption for impact. And I think that's part of our uniqueness and our differentiator. We want to leverage platforms and this real disruptor for
Yeah.
impact.
Okay. And for impact, you mean making a real difference? Is that what I am?
Exactly.
Absolutely. How's the business grown over the last couple of years?
It's tough because we've been in startup mode for too long. In the beginning, platform technologies were not really understood here. So I started in platforms in 2011, and at that stage, while not ubiquitous, they were really quite prolific
Yes.
in the West. But here in South Africa, people didn't really understand platforms. Although they were on Facebook, they didn't relate the word Facebook to the word platform. And people
Mm.
just said, well, whatever you're doing, I'm sure Google could do that.
Yes.
And we were too new in it to understand it and explain it. So A Better Africa has certainly grown in audience and membership. We have over 20,000 users of the platform, and we just calculated on one of the teacher communities that we established across sub-Saharan Africa that we've had 75,000 resource downloads in the past 2 years, which is quite significant.
Significant, yeah.
So when you talk about growth, especially for an impact entrepreneur, we tend to measure impact growth and not and often not our own growth, which is important.
Yeah.
We kind of get confused and sometimes think we're a non-profit. And these are challenging things for the social entrepreneurial space.
No, you're right. But the nonprofit still needs money, hey?
Exactly.
Yeah. So the sales and the marketing and all of that is still important.
Yeah.
So look, if you're looking at your career and looking at life, in being an employer, what are the major lessons what are the major things you'd recommend that new business owners do when they employ people?
I think that you need to decide if you're employing people to fulfill a position and fulfill that for 20 years, a long service award and a gold watch, then that's what you're doing. But if you're employing people to grow them and find their natural flow and their ability, then you need to focus on that. You need to decide what kind of leader you are, and your people need to know this. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yes. I love that. I think one of the previous interviews that I had, he spoke about the passion for the business and the passion, really be passionate about what you do, because that makes things so much easier when you work.
Absolutely.
So a balance between business and, in your case, all these 3 businesses and personal life, how are you managing that?
I love this question, and I'm smiling now, and I smiled when I read it. So over the last few years, I've become a very regular mindfulness, consciousness, not practitioner, but practicer, if that's a word. I practice daily. And what I've realized is your life is your life. You don't have a work life, a fun life. You have life. So you really have to, one, build in consciousness and awareness. And you can't say from 9 to 5, I'm going to be super stressed, and that's okay, because at 5:30, I'll have that glass of wine in my hand and I'll be okay. Because you can't. You need to go into that 9 to 5 and say, I'm conscious, I'm breathing. This minute of my life is going to be gone in the next minute, and I need to live it.
Yeah, live in the now, hey?
Live in the now. So it's very much the Eckhart Tolle. I like Sam Harris personally, and that's who I practice with.
Yeah.
But your life is your life, and it should all have this beautiful equanimity and balance to it. Yes, of course, we're going to get stressed, but silly things start stressing you. And if you're mindful and conscious throughout your day, you deal with them differently, and you're a happier person, I guess.
Absolutely.
It all sounds very idyllic, I know, but
it does work. It does work. I remember my wife some time ago. Our kids are all over the country and in the Netherlands, and we were talking about Christmas and being together as a family, and we couldn't make it for that Christmas, but we had a date in December that we could all make. And she said, well, the only thing we do is we move Christmas from the 25th till the 22nd or something, and that's our Christmas day. And
exactly.
Because it's all man-made, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in the recruitment process, and I'm sure in your career you've employed quite a few people, qualities that you look for, and how do you manage and foster productivity?
So in the last few years, one of my directors on A Better Africa is also a coach, consciousness coach, and she works with a tool actually locally developed, which I absolutely love, called the Contribution Compass. And I use this tool because if you're looking for someone in your business who you're hoping to create.
Yeah.
Then you're looking for someone who has the creativity as their natural flow. If
Yeah.
you're looking for an admin person, and although they come and they studied admin and you need people who absorb what their natural flow is. So I use the contribution compass. In my kind of business, we attract a lot of creatives, and at the moment we're all very creative. Luckily, I'm kind of quite balanced in that I'm very time-based. I'm
Yes.
very dead, because a lot of creatives are not time-based, so they don't have that kind of grounded quality.
Yes.
So I use the tool. I try to put people in the position that will thrive in the position because that's their flow.
Yeah. Great stuff. Yeah. So natural fit brings out the best in you, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So what are the misconceptions people have sometimes when they talk to you as an entrepreneur and the owner of a business?
I think that people think entrepreneurs are all perform is people who are employed think the entrepreneur is in the position of their boss, doing enormously well, coining it,
Yeah.
having this lovely life of delegation. But
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite of that. You know, an entrepreneur is, especially in startup mode, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
You have no big corporate fund behind you. I think it's a massive misconception. And for many years, you will end up doing everything, especially if you are creating solutions that take time for market absorption or solution development. I
Yeah.
think that's the misconception.
Yeah. And I suppose the other one that I always find is they think that you've got lots of money.
Yeah.
You must be
Definitely a
because you have a business.
misconception.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking at the financials of running a business, what advice could you give to startup business owners around finances?
Start lean. Don't spend what you don't need to. Don't think it looks good to be in an office, so I need to rent an office. No
Yeah.
one will see you in your office in all likelihood. They'll see you in their own meeting room.
Yeah.
Just keep it as lean as possible. Only spend on the essentials. And yeah, it's probably been a weak point of mine, but I went through years in my brand marketing agency where I wouldn't know how profitable we were until our accountant came in and went through our annual financial statements at the end of the financial year.
Yeah.
Be on top of it, have management accounts, know what's going
Absolutely.
out, what's coming in, etc.
Yeah. Oh, great advice there. So, Janice, looking ahead in 5 years from now, where do you see yourself in the business?
I really hope so. I'm obviously, having been an entrepreneur now for
Yeah.
almost 32 years. I'm not that young anymore. I still consider myself to be young, but I would I would probably like to be see younger energies running the businesses, and maybe be in a more advisory strategic role, and a little bit less hands-on.
Hmm. Okay. Great stuff. It's a great place to be if you can get that right.
Exactly.
What is that one question that I should have asked you but didn't? And what's the answer?
I think every single entrepreneur in a country like ours needs to be thinking about change. You can't live in a bubble. Your and as I say, you know, your life is your life, your consciousness is
Yes.
your consciousness. You can't live in a bubble. You can't be living in the bank and delivering a service and not be aware of communities around you. So I
Yeah.
think it's all about what is the real responsibility of business in the space in which they operate. And, you know, things
Yes.
about good corporate citizenship. People look at the social development goals and they think it's for some NGOs. That actually
Yes.
it's not. It's for all of us.
Well, yeah.
And, you know, the role we play and the however many years we spend working or being entrepreneurs, there needs to be something more to it.
Yeah. yeah, a real legacy, but also upliftment of the community and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So, looking at your business, if you had a magic wand and you could spread some magic dust, which area of your business would you spread that on?
Think township economies and economic transformation. Because once you uplift 50% of our population live in townships and only 17% of job creation happens there. If that changed and
Yeah.
people were able to find work close to where they lived, they weren't waking up at 4 a.m. in the dark to get to some job.
Yes.
Education and health would start fixing themselves.
Okay.
So I think it's really about economic transformation.
No, lovely. So here's my dream. I'd like to impact 10,000 business owners and their teams and create 100,000 jobs. And that's my dream.
I
And
love that.
and that's really what I want to do, is to help business owners grow. And if we grow their business, they will employ more people. And that creates community prosperity and all the things that go with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Janice, I'd like to thank you for your time. It was great talking to you and awesome to learn about your dreams and your experience. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Fantastic. Thank you, Bert. It was a pleasure.